The Nintendo 64 is one of my favorite consoles of all time. Coming out nearly 2 years after other 5th-gen consoles from established competitor Sega and newcomer to the console market Sony, Nintendo would find themselves in an uphill fight. By refusing to adopt CDs and continuing their archaic third-party publisher practices, Nintendo would fall from its previously secure spot as #1 console maker. While it wouldn't find the success of Nintendo's past consoles, the Nintendo 64 was host to many classic games and a lot of memories. Today, the Nintendo 64 has achieved a cult following. With building nostalgia for the system, many of the games have actually become quite pricey, some hitting the $400 range. Today, we begin a series looking back at the history of this amazing machine. At Nintendo's annual Shoshinkai trade show of August 1993, President of Nintendo, Hiroshi Yamauchi, took the stage and announced the existence of Project Reality, the successor to Nintendo's widely popular Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was being built in partnership with Silicon Graphics to bring high-quality 3D graphics to the masses for under $300 in US currency. The partnership with SGI was exciting since the company was responsible for CGI in many high-grossing blockbusters like Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park. Project Reality was announced to release in the summer of 1995 for a price of exactly $250. No additional information regarding Project Reality would be shown until Winter CES of January 1994 in Las Vegas. During the event, guests were treated to a couple of tech demos representing the power of the upcoming console. In one demo, a shark was shown swimming in water, highlighting the effects of the new console would be capable of all in real time. The second demo was a CGI trailer showing the skylines of different cities being rendered to Project Reality specs. These demos helped showcase just how powerful the console would be compared to the upcoming PlayStation and Saturn consoles, and the public was waiting to hear more. After CES, hype behind Project Reality was at an all-time high. Unfortunately, things behind the scenes at SGI began to fall apart with many executive-level problems. Because of these problems, Nintendo began to distance themselves from the company that was originally responsible for their early hype. In May of 1994, Nintendo dropped more bad news with the announcement that Project Reality would continue to utilize cartridges instead of the newer CD that every other console had adopted. The reason given behind the move? It would have made the system cost $100 more to produce, and CDs were just too slow for the types of games Nintendo wanted to put on their system. Summer CES in Chicago of 1994 was Nintendo's chance to prove the tech inside their upcoming machine, now renamed the Nintendo Ultra 64. Available to play were the arcade versions of Killer Instinct and Cruisin' USA. The real surprise, however, came when Nintendo revealed the first images of Donkey Kong Country. Not only was this game developed using the SGI tech that was going to power the Ultra 64, it was actually going to be released on the Super Nintendo. While these games were good, none truly showed what the Nintendo's new console could do, though.
Our emulations are back, and I gotta tell you, it's been stunning. The visual quality and the speed and interactivity of the gameplay have been amazing. I can't wait for you as the World Game Players to be able to get your hands on this. When can you do that? Well, I'm really pleased to tell you today we're right on schedule. The chips are taping out this month, which is right on track to be able to deliver our commitments to you.
Nintendo would spend the majority of 1995 revealing nothing about the Ultra 64. Even with the first Electronic Entertainment Expo, E3, on the horizon, Nintendo announced the machine wouldn't even be at the show. It was during the same announcement that Nintendo revealed the Ultra 64 would release in December of 1995 in Japan, with a US and European release date sometime in 1996. 1995 also saw the US release of both the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation, and gamers were immediately taken in with the new systems. Nintendo watched as the masses bought up competing consoles and could do nothing more than print ads about how the Ultra 64 would be worth the wait. Finally, in November of 1995 at their annual Shoshinkai trade show, Nintendo released more Ultra 64 details and game trailers. The first of these announcements was, the system had once again received a name change to the Nintendo 64. It was also revealed that the system would be delayed until April of 1996 in Japan. Games playable at the show were early prototypes for Super Mario 64 and Kirby Ball 64. Other video demos were available showcasing early concepts of Zelda 64, Star Fox, and Mario Kart. The Nintendo 64 controller was also revealed for the first time. To further attract more developers back from Sony and Sega, Nintendo also announced the existence of what would later be known as the 64 disk drive. Unfortunately, the Nintendo 64 didn't release in April 1996 as planned and was pushed back an additional 2 months to June of 1996 in Japan. During this time, the upcoming game library for the Nintendo 64 began to gather more scrutiny, with no real Japanese publishers to speak of supporting the system, and the developers already committed to Nintendo's Dream Team being less than spectacular. The launch of the system looked pretty bleak. I hope you enjoyed this brief look back at the Nintendo 64's life prior to 1996. Make sure to check out part 2 of this video, which will cover the release and all the rest of 1996. And if you would like more information on Nintendo 64, including a further in-depth history and exactly what happened at SGI, check out the Nintendo 64 Anthology book. I'll post a link in the description below, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you back next video.